Hello, I'm Dr. Brandt Gibson. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here today. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about inflammatory neuropathy. So a lot of times we talk about all the different types of peripheral neuropathy. We talk about diabetic neuropathy. We talk about cancer-induced or chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy. We talk about alcohol-induced neuropathy. We talk about vitamin deficiency and so forth. But one that is commonly not mentioned is inflammatory peripheral neuropathy. And there are really a couple different classes of inflammatory peripheral neuropathy. And so let's go there. So the first is Guillain-Barre Syndrome. We've talked about Guillain-Barre Syndrome in some of these videos, and it's one of those that has more of an acute polyneuropathy that actually causes, right there, causes the inflammatory type peripheral neuropathy. And Guillain-Barre Syndrome, being a genetic problem, can cause an inflammatory peripheral neuropathy. The second is CIDP, or chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyradiculopathy. And this one is similarly a inflammation that actually causes damage to the nerve axons and causes damage to the nerve cells themselves just from inflammation. It is important that you evaluate and be tested for that. Similarly, there are exact tests for Guillain-Barre syndrome. There's exact tests for CIDP. The third one is less common. It's non-systemic vasculitic polyneuropathy. And the vasculitic neuropathy, the non-systemic, is you're going to have a localized polyneuropathy or a vasculitis or neuritis type peripheral neuropathy from the inflammation there. There's a fourth one that sometimes we don't think about, and I'm just going to call that the other inflammatory conditions, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that because there's several different things that can happen that will cause additional peripheral neuropathy problems, and that's just general inflammation in the tissues. As you get inflammation, you start to get damage to all the tissues. You get damage to the blood vessels. You can get inflammation in the blood vessels themselves that slows down blood flow to the nerves. You can get inflammation around the neuron itself and actually cause damage to the neuron. We'll go backwards because we can actually kind of show you that. So here's a neuron. You've got the dendrites around the outside here. You got the axon coming down here, and the cell body in the middle. And the cell body is sometimes with inflammation, you can actually cause damage to the cell membrane itself. You can cause damage to the DNA. You can cause damage to the mitochondria so they're not functioning like they're supposed to just from the inflammation. And the truth is, many of the things that we eat cause inflammation. The truth is, if you get rid of the gut bacteria, for example, you can get inflammation in your system, and all of those can actually cause inflammatory peripheral neuropathy. The last piece that we usually I like to talk about with this is with peripheral neuropathy. Sometimes you're going to get peripheral neuropathy from compression of the nerves as they come out of the spinal cord. If you have an inflammatory type peripheral neuropathy, these compressions are going to be worse because you inflame that nerve, you get more compression, similar to like you'd have a carpal tunnel or tarsal tunnel type situation. That inflammation can actually make it worse. So if you can decrease the inflammation in your system, a lot of times you will also improve back-related neuropathy symptoms. This is huge. So you need to think about that. So what are the things that you can do to reduce inflammation? Now, some people are going to say, okay, you want to take anti-inflammatories like the NSAIDs or stuff like that. And the truth is, I would say that's actually one of the possible causes of inflammation in some cases. And so that's not necessarily always the case. So I'm going to give you several. Number one, you want to reduce calories. You want to adjust the way that you're eating. They've shown by reducing your calories just by a small amount, you reduce the inflammation in your body significantly. You want to eat the appropriate foods. You're going to actually focus more on plant-based foods, for example. You're going to eat more of the vegetables and fruits and those kind of things. By doing that, you're going to get more of the nutrients. You're going to decrease inflammation. That as opposed to sugars or processed foods, which increase inflammation, increase the omega-6 levels, which of course stimulate inflammatory responses. You can take omega-3s. That could be either in the pill form or it can be in eating more fish, flaxseed, that kind of thing will actually reduce inflammation. Exercise is a very, very valuable tool to help the body reduce inflammation. You could work on getting the gut healthy, so probiotics and eating appropriate foods for the gut to work as well. Probiotics are very, very valuable in reducing and helping this. Sleep. One of the ways that we repair nerves, the way we repair other cells of the body, is through getting the appropriate amount of sleep. And you want to determine that. If you get too much sleep, the inflammation goes up pretty significantly. If you get too little sleep, it doesn't give you enough time to truly recover. So exercise, sleep, the fluids, you want to make sure you drink the right amount of fluids. They say at least 6 to 8 cups of water a day. I'm increasing that. I would say instead of 6 to 8, I would do 8 to 12, because you can get a lot more benefit, a lot more help with that. So hopefully that gives you some things you can do. Adjusting the way you eat. I mean, even fasting or fasting mimic diets where you're not eating as often will make a difference. Eliminating processed foods and sugars, exercising, drinking the right amount of fluids, taking the right nutrients into the body, including omega-3 and omega-3 rich foods, sleep. All of these will help. And if you do that and you work on fixing the gut bacteria at the same time, you can reduce inflammation and you can improve inflammatory peripheral neuropathy. This is Dr. Brandt Gibson, and this is your Neuropathy Nugget Day 327, inflammatory peripheral neuropathy. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.